Hey guys, this is Rose. I wanted to show you all how I capture end of day trades. Most of these concepts I have learned from Sadi. He has a website called sadiland.com that I'll also list in the description of this video. But basically, I've been learning it from him, and um, you know, a lot of these concepts come derived from him. But I wanted to show you how give you like a good example how on Wednesday, um, you could have caught an end of day put. And what I consider end of day is basically the last 10 minutes of the trading day. Um, Usually I start looking at around um, the last 30 minutes of the day. I start looking to see how everything's looking. I switched down to the my views to the 1 minute, 3 minute, and 10 minute just to see overall how we're looking. So, for example, on Wednesday, um, let me change this to the on Wednesday on the 10 minute. You know, we were still. This was around 30 minutes before close. We were still looking pretty bearish. We had a big trend day down and we weren't really getting above the 10 minute 21 EMA. So even though right here we had some divergence, we had divergence here. And so we weren't, even though it was looking like it might want to push up overall when we have a strong trend day, the PO, the phase oscillator divergence doesn't work as much. But on the 10 minute, we were kind of still looking bearish, and we were actually in compression, as you can see with the purple candles. Then the 3 minute was kind of similar. We couldn't really flip the ribbon. We kept kind of stopping right at the EMA 48. And then the 1 minute, um, kind of up and down, but overall as well. We were looking like, hey, we might push up a little, but let's see what's going on. Another thing I like to do is Sadi has a video on how to create your own SPX leaderboard. And so basically, you want to see what's the highest sorted by volume. And so, usually at the end of the day, like those last 30 minutes, if things are in the money, which is these highlighted ones are in the money, usually the market makers try to kill it, basically kill it, bring down the contracts as low as possible, kind of in a way to stick it to retail and make those premiums go to zero as much as possible. So and this is Friday, so I have a screenshot of Wednesday. So on Wednesday, I think I took this like 40 minutes or so before close. The 40 put and the 50 put were in the money, as you can see here. So usually it tells you that maybe those last 30 minutes, around any time between then, they might try to kill those contracts. And that's kind of like what happened early on. Um, as you can see, we had a bit of divergence. Kind of, I want to say you had like a 1 minute divergence around here. And then we started to push up. Um, but you don't want to just go ahead and grab calls thinking, this last 10 minutes is just going to keep going up. You want to look for another setup, like a 1 minute divergence, and see what happens. So basically, here, this was kind of completed. This divergence reversal was completed. So now you kind of wait and see what those last 10 minutes, which is MOC, the last 10 minutes on close. And as you can see here, um, if I play this, you start to see that oops, it went too far. Kind of right before, we pushed back up, that kind of killed that 40 call. Not as much really, but you start to see that we came down to the 1 minute 21 EMA. And then as we approach those last 10 minutes, when we get that big end of day volatility, we formed a divergence here between, SPX and the oscillator. Like it was a bit divergent, not too much, but you could kind of tell that it was diverging a bit. And so then you could have grabbed, like, let's say you try to stay as much closer in the money as you can. So you could have grabbed the 35 put maybe right as the 10-minute close, and then um, you could see how this kind of kept dying, and it ended up closing basically all the way down to close to that 67.20. So this put would have paid really well. What you can do is maybe grab three puts, and let's say they cost about $1 each. Set two of them to like auto sell at like 100%, and then leave a runner and see what happens with that one. And this one probably, went from $1 to maybe $8 or something like that within the span of, um, these last 10 minutes. And it doesn't always work this way. And for example, let's go back to yesterday. So yesterday, I actually caught the move. Yesterday was super tricky. And I caught the move before the 10-minute happened. So what I kind of found was I didn't really see a lot of divergence overall. But what I did notice was that on the 3-minute, the 3-minute kind of wanted to form a VOMI right here, kind of like right here. And as you could see, this one here kind of failed. But the reason that this one here failed, because if you look at the 10-minute, um, it it wasn't really, the ribbon was still strong, and we were kind of never closing, kind of not even reaching like the 21 EMA, and we kept kind of closing above the 13. Whereas when this second one towards the end of the day was happening, it looked like the 8 and the 13 EMA were getting really thin and kind of diverging a bit, and then it looked like, okay, we're getting ready to tap that 21 EMA, and I noticed that we actually closed below it. And of course I didn't think, because we've been so choppy, I wasn't thinking we were gonna come all the way down. Um, but also another thing to notice is it was like one of the first times we also closed below this ATR level. Um, so then if you go to the 3-minute, this this VOMI started forming. So I actually got in kind of like around one of these bars. So at that point, my trade was looking a little funky, but I realized like I'm gonna give it a shot. I think at that point, um, I want to say the 30C, and I think the 40 call, like throughout, no, not even the 40 call, but the 30 call was in the money, and it actually ended up closing in the money. But at that time, the 30 call and the 25 call were in the money. So I figured those last 30 minutes or so, they might try to burn those contracts. And it actually, they did. And once I saw this big bar right here, which honestly, I wasn't expecting it, my contract went from like, I think it was down like 30% or something to being up. I think at one point it was up like 500% or 400, but I ended up taking profit at around like 350% or so because it moved so quick. Um, and I just got out. And then after that, I honestly, like, I was done. So I really realized I wasn't going to play the last 10 minutes. But yeah, yesterday was a little bit tricky because it was up and down, up and down. But you could have noticed how it never was trying to close above like this ATR level or even above like the 34. So when this went that, we were kind of all day pinned at this like 30 point. So you could have risked, those last 6 minutes could have grabbed like a 30 call, and this would have been a good trade to the upside. It ended up, the 30 call ended up closing at 480, and I'm pretty sure you could have bought that like uh, at $1 at least. And so sometimes what I do is I just set it to fill me either like at $1, 80 cents, whatever. If it fills me, it fills me. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's how I kind of get to catch those moves sometimes. Um, End of day, the leaderboard doesn't work all the time. So I actually on Thursday thought it would be cute for me to live stream for the first time on YouTube. And honestly, it everything looked like we were trying to push up because on the leaderboard, let me see if I can find the messages. Let's see. I have to scroll up. That was 12:18. Ba, ba, ba. Let's see. 12:18. Uh, what day is this? Yeah, this is 12:18. I guess I didn't type it here, but I didn't post the leaderboard here actually that day. Um, but what happened was at that point the leaderboard, everything was lighting up for puts. So I think like the 6,800 put, the like 90 put, like a lot of these were like in the money. So I thought that the last 10 minutes we most likely were going to keep going. But as you can see, we ended up a lot of more puts, like the 80 put, the 75, like all of those ended up in the money that day, even though I thought that um, we were going to burn those. So it doesn't always work. You can kind of go based on, let's see, on Thursday, if you go to the 1 minute, let's see. Really, the best Thursday was not looking at the Thinkorswim, at this leaderboard. The best was actually you had a clean divergence right here. Because in the 1 minute, you could see we were, um, this was higher, and then this over here, the face oscillator was trending lower. and then that gave the clean move. Actually, and puts were actually the move. You could have grabbed like this 90 put or the like 85 even, and those ended up really nice in the money. So I just wanted to give an example of how sometimes not everything works, and so at the end of the day, looking at the charts is the best. um, and those were kind of just kind of wanted to show you the rhyme and rhythm of how I look at end of day trading. I always trade with profits, always max 3 contracts in case they go to zero immediately. It won't hurt me. Um, and then I try to scale out. If I get, like 3 contracts, scale out like one or two as soon as you hit 100%, and then let the other one run. Don't try to get greedy, um, and see what happens. Because sometimes that last one can go to zero in an instant. But yeah, this is the video. Thanks.